My husband made me eat on the floor. His family made sure he ate alone for good. The first time Kellen told me to eat on the floor, I thought he was joking. We had been married for about 5 months and we were having dinner at his apartment, which is where we lived after the wedding. He made spaghetti and I sat down at the table and started eating. He looked at me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Eating." He said, "Not there." I asked what he meant. He said the table was for him and that I could eat on the floor or at the counter. I laughed because I genuinely thought it was a bad joke. He didn't laugh. He said in his house the man eats at the table and the woman eats where there's space. I told him that was insane. He told me that's how his grandfather did it and that's how he was going to do it. I told him I wasn't going to eat on the floor. He took my plate off the table and set it on the kitchen counter and said, "Fine, eat here then." I was so shocked I just stood there and ate at the counter because I didn't know what else to do. That was the first time. It wasn't the last. Over the next few weeks, Kellen enforced this rule like it was law. If I sat at the table, he would move my plate. If I pushed back, he would stop talking to me for the rest of the night. Not yelling, not hitting, just cold, total silence like I didn't exist. He trained me to choose the counter over the fight. Then one night, he moved the only chair from the counter area and told me the counter was getting too cluttered and that I should eat in the living room. The living room had a couch, but he said food wasn't allowed on the couch. The only place left was the floor. I sat on the floor with a plate on my lap and ate dinner while my husband sat at a table 6 feet away from me eating the same meal I cooked. I cooked every single meal in that house. He didn't know how to boil water properly. I cooked and he ate at the table and I ate on the floor. I ate on the floor. The tile was cold. Even in summer, that kitchen floor never warmed up. I started putting a dish towel down to sit on because my legs went numb after 20 minutes on bare tile. Some nights I ate faster than I normally would just to get off the floor. Some nights I didn't eat at all because sitting on the floor felt worse than being hungry. Kellen noticed when I skipped meals. He said I was being passive-aggressive. He said if I didn't want to eat, that was my choice, but I shouldn't make it into a statement. Everything I did was either obedience or rebellion to him. There was nothing in between. On the nights I did eat on the floor, I stared at the wall or I looked at my phone. I couldn't look at him sitting at the table because every time I did, I felt something shrink inside me. Something that used to be anger was slowly becoming acceptance, and I could feel it happening in real time, and I hated myself for letting it. The worst night was a Thursday. I had made chicken parmesan from scratch, his favorite. I even made garlic bread from a recipe my mother gave me. I plated everything and brought his to the table and brought mine to the floor and sat down, and the plate was too hot on my lap, and I shifted, and the chicken slid off and landed on the tile. He looked over at me and said, "See, that's why you should use the floor plate." The floor plate. He had given the plate I ate from a name, like I was a pet with a designated bowl. I cleaned up the chicken and ate the garlic bread on the floor, and I didn't say a word. This went on for 3 months. I didn't tell anyone because I was embarrassed. What kind of person admits that their husband makes them eat on the floor? I kept it to myself until Kellen's sister Margot came over for dinner one Sunday. I made a roast. I set the table for 2 because that's what I always did. Kellen sat down. Margot sat down. I grabbed my plate and walked toward the living room. Margot looked at me and said, "Where are you going?" I said I was going to eat in the other room. She asked why. Before I could answer, Kellen said she likes eating in there and that she was more comfortable on her own. Margot looked at me. I didn't say anything. She looked at Kellen and said, "That's weird. Why wouldn't your wife eat with us?" Kellen said, "Drop it." Margot didn't drop it. She asked me directly. She said, "Are you choosing to eat in the other room, or is he telling you to?" I stood there holding my plate, and I could feel Kellen staring at me. I told the truth. I said he doesn't let me eat at the table. Margot put her fork down. She asked Kellen what